Hi, my dear Astro family. Here is today your full moon report. So today we are going to be talking about the full moon, which is going to be taking place on 3rd of July, 2023. Depending on where you are, it's going to be happening at 12:38 p.m. London time. So let's get started. So first of all, I would like to announce, because this month, it's a big month, right? We are going to be having the nodal changes, and we are going to be having a Venus retrograde as well. So I've decided to do a course on the North Node and the South Node. What we will cover in this course is we're going to be looking at nodes in signs and houses. We're going to be looking at how to work with the dispositor of the nodes. We're going to be looking at any planets squaring the nodes, because those are some karmic skips in our lives. So we're going to have to deal with those. And we're also going to be looking at how to predict with the nodes as well. So this is an ultimate course all about the nodes. Most likely it's going to be at least about 30 hours. And I'm going to be offering this for a discounted price only till the 7th of June. So if you wish to sign up, then check that out. It's going to be approximately about 129 pounds until 7th of July, and then after it's gonna go up, and unfortunately it's going to be almost double in price. So check that out. Now let's get started with this full moon report. Exciting. Very auspicious full moon, by the way, full on aspects as well. So we're gonna have to break that down for you. First of all, what is a full moon? A full moon occurs when the sun and the moon are opposing each other. So the sun will be on 11 degree 19 minutes of Cancer, and the moon is going to be in Capricorn. Now, moon in the sign of Capricorn, by the way, is a detrimental position for the moon. So she is not at ease, especially because the moon is out of bound as well. Now, I've spoken about out of bound planets before. It is acting like a Uranian flavor to the moon. So it is a double whammy here for the moon. It's acting out pretty much just because it doesn't feel at ease in the sign. And on top of that, it is out of bound as well. So we have got this opposition going on. Now, any type of opposition basically tells you that we're going to have to bring the two planetary energies together. And we're going to have to treat it like a conjunction, basically, if we want them to be working. So the full moon are always an indication or a time of culmination or a fulfillment, something which might have started around the new moon or the previous new moon, for example, when we had one in the sign of Capricorn last year as well. Typically, we describe the full moons as an emotional time, by the way, and it often talks to us about relationships, because oppositions are all about relationship anyway. So the relationship with our future and the past, remembering that the past is affecting the future as well. And on top of that, it could talk to you about the yin and the yang energies as well. So whether I'm able to communicate with my feminine side or the masculine side, and so forth. Now, it happens in the sign of Cancer to Capricorn axis, or its polarity. Now, it is always a balance. So the balance of the private life or something to do with your professional settings. Do I want to be just at home, or do I want to be nurtured, or do I want to be all the time in the public? Maybe at workplace, maybe I want to be focusing on my career, maybe I need to take responsibility for something, or I want to be taking care of my reputation. So this is where there is a little bit of an internal struggle going on. We have got a loads of workload, for example, at work, but then we have got responsibilities to attend as well in our home environment too. And then we feel that we're getting pulled apart. And how are we going to be dealing with this situation is getting highlighted here. Definitely, the daily activities are going to be a major topic here, by the way, because Mercury is also opposing the moon. And on top of that, we do have got Juno there as well. So basically, we have got the moon being opposed by three planetary bodies: Juno, Sun, and Mercury at the same time. So imagine that we have got a family who is nagging us. Maybe a wife or a husband or someone who is nagging us that you have been working way too much and then somehow you are ignoring me. So what you gonna do about that? Right? So your emotional needs and your physical needs somehow are not met. So this is going to be one of the topic here. Additional topics which this full moon, and you might want to be asking yourself the question because a Capricorn is always about achievements. So what have I achieved so far? Imagine that you have got a deadline and you are worried that you haven't pretty much done anything around this deadline just yet, or you are way far off. So, what have I achieved? You might start asking that type of question. But also, because the future is involved here with the sun as well. So, what do I want to achieve in this lifetime or this year and so forth? But Capricorn, remember this moon is a very limited here, right? It's not that dreamy moon anymore. Capricorn is the sign of boundaries, limitations, restrictions. So, in what ways do you limit yourself? And you're going to have to master your emotions. You're going to have to somehow contain your emotions because an out of bound moon can be a little bit wacky all over the place. The emotions are up and down. There is an emotional turmoil going on here. So that is a major topic. Now, also, Capricorn could talk about your mission statement, kind of like, what did I sign up in this incarnation? So, what is your own mission statement? What type of promises do you want to make for yourself? But in order for you to achieve something, you're going to have to be accountable. It's pretty much about leaving a legacy behind. That's what Capricorn talks to us about. So now there are multiple aspects here, which we're definitely going to be looking into. One of them is Mercury. Now, Mercury is also out of bound as well. And Mercury is in the sign of Cancer. It's being combusted currently in that chart, as you can see. Mercury is on Mercury is on 14 degree of Cancer, and then you can see that obviously the Sun is on 11 degree, right? So we have got a little bit of a combustion going on, which means that our thoughts are not clear. Our thoughts are getting pretty much clouded by the rays of the sun. And most likely, somehow the partner is also involved here because Juno being part of it as well. So, how to clear our mind is going to be a question here so that we can see our emotional patterns better. That's another important key success factor for you. And because the mind is also out of bound at the moment, or the way we speak. So imagine Mercury in the sign of Cancer, by the way, is a silent talker, right? But being or opposing the moon, it's kind of like when you can kill someone with the eyes, but and everyone knows that you are not necessarily, in the greatest shape at the moment. So that is also something which comes up here. Also, Cancer talks to us about attachment styles as well. So, what are my attachment styles? How do I get attached to relationships? And how do I get attached to maybe negative way of thinking as well, or a little bit more on the pessimistic side? I mean, both Moon and Mercury are quite pessimistic at the moment. So, do we need to let that go? Do we need a little bit more of an optimism in our life? What do I get easily attached to? Because if you work hard on these, eventually you're going to get the reward. or you get punished with the Capricorn as well. Remember, Saturn is the greatest punisher as well as someone who gives you rewards as well. But also, Capricorn can now, we describe Pisces as the unconditional love. Why are we talking about Pisces? Because the dispositor of the full moon is Saturn, which is in the sign of Pisces currently, right? So that's about unconditional love. But Capricorn talks to you about conditional love. So now, on one hand, the conditional love means that, you're going to pick up the dirty socks. And the unconditional love pretty much means that I accept the way you are. So there is a little bit of an inner struggle around that too. But the fact that the sun and we have got that three planetary bodies in the sign of Cancer, it would talk to you about looking at where you came from, what your roots are, and then being responsible for who you are, because Cancer is something to do with your inner foundation. And maybe sometimes you're gonna have to let the children go, and we're gonna have to allow them to grow up, for example. We don't always need to be responsible for everyone around us, right? So Cancer is the representation of where we come from, and Capricorn pretty much the representation where we are going. So it's extremely important. Remember that, let's say, you are an extremely successful businessman, but you were grown up in a very poor environment. So you're going to have to remember where you came from, because there was an inner motivation there to make something out of your life as well. Because when you are trying to, or when you try to neglect, or when you are neglecting one side of this, then unfortunately it can cause you some type of problem as well at the same time. Remember, the full moons are a culmination point, a spotlight basically on something which might not be working on our life. It's all about balance. So there is something within us and there is something out there, and that needs to be balanced out somehow. And obviously, an opposition is always a conflict. So, where I am at the moment and where I'm heading, and maybe we don't know whether that's going to be the right direction, for example, for you. But definitely, there is something which you want to be able to achieve here, or there is definitely something like a system you want to put in place. Just your feelings, your negativity might be clouding your decision makings at the moment. And that's what you're going to have to pay attention to. Now, what we see is that the dispositor, Saturn, is actually making a separating sextile to the moon. So, what pretty much a separating sextile or a separating aspect is always something which is originated from the past, especially with Saturn being retrograde as well. So, it means to me that you have started a process of letting go of something, as in Pisces, before you started crystallizing something there, or building a foundation, or building a moment to let go of something. And now it is the time actually to do that somehow. Saturn is about solidity, it's about practicality, it's about realizing something, but also it's about your fears as well. So letting go of the fears, especially in the sign of Pisces. Imagine that you have got some type of addictions going on, for example, or some type of healing to do as well, right? So it's gonna get spotlighted for you. And then we can see that also we have got to the moon a separating trine as well from Jupiter, which is quite close by the way. So Jupiter is on 9 degree and the moon is on 11 degree. Oh, by the way, why is it separating? Because the moon has already passed the 9 degree and it's not going to come back to it for a while, right? So Jupiter is giving us the opportunity to again build something solid in our life. And it might be focusing on finances, for example. Right, so imagine that with that Cancer and Capricorn polarity, you want to build a house, as in Capricorn building, Cancer as in a home base. Right? So Jupiter might have given you some type of opportunities, especially financial opportunities, with being in the sign of Taurus. Question is whether you grab that or not. And Saturn might want you to revisit that topic a little bit for you. Yes. But Saturn also tells you, just alongside with the Capricorn full moon anyway, that you're gonna have to find discipline, for example, in your life to achieve any of your goals. Whether I'm gonna create a ticking exercise, whether I'm gonna create a schedule, whether I'm gonna have a to-do list, whether I'm gonna put my to-do list under the pillow with Pisces as well, so we can have those dreams about it, and maybe we're gonna get inspired somehow. But it tells you that now you cannot postpone things, especially because Saturn is retrograde. So this is something you have already experienced, right? So there is no second chances anymore. You're gonna have to do that. But also, full moons itself is basically about letting go of something which is not working anymore in our life. And Saturn and Capricorn tells you that you're going to have to take responsibility for your decisions. Maybe that Saturn retrograde says that you should have done that already before. Now, if you are not doing the right thing, it probably brings you some type of challenges. It says that you're going to have to take ownership of any of the situation which had been created before. Also, um, Saturn here with Jupiter as well. It is about guidance and wisdom and knowledge as well. So if we are unsure, we can still turn to someone who might be able to give us some type of advice as well. So what we see here is a pretty much of quite a lot of help here from Jupiter and Saturn. If we start looking at the dispositorship, obviously the moon is ruled by Saturn, Saturn is ruled by Jupiter, and both of them are really helpful towards this full moon. So this is an energy I like here. And you look at the chart on the screen, you can see that there is a QUA asteroid there. Now, I'm not too sure how to pronounce it, but it's QR. I usually pronounce it, and that's the asteroid of intuition. Now, I believe it was discovered in 2002. It's a trans-Neptunian asteroid, and by the way, that caused quite a lot of kind of like stir in the astrological world because it was believed that it's going to unlock something to do with the mysteries of the universe. Um, if I'm recalling well, this asteroid is actually the ruler of Los Angeles area, by the way. But what does it indicate? It talks to us about the deepest fears, but it also talks about our hopes and wishes as well, and all the painful experiences what we have gone through. So usually I don't allow more than 2 degree orb, but this is a full moon to start with. Secondly, I kind of believe that this topic of the asteroid really much fits the situation here because, first of all, we all have got some type of desires. We all have got our hopes. So it is the hope of future, right? In Capricorn, as in not necessarily the sign of future, but it is the sign of accomplishment, right? And which we potentially can achieve in our life. But we're gonna have to deal with some of our painful experiences of our origin or where we come from, or just simply the lack of confidence within yourself. So, what are your deepest fears? Because they are going to get exposed for you. By the way, its astrological number is 50,000. If you wish to check that up on astro.com, you just manually have to enter 50,000 and then you will be able to see where that is in your chart. By the way, the mythology is also very pretty much a teller. It was about Tongwa mythology states, and this asteroid was the very first entities to appear out of the primordial chaos. So we are talking about someone who had the responsibility to create the universe and everything in it, pretty much, right? So it is in charge of existence and somehow bringing together the two worlds. And now it is bringing together the sun and the moon here, right? So it's about our inner world and how we represent ourselves in the outer world as well. Also, by the way, this asteroid rules animals as well. Apparently, most of the animals on Earth were pretty much brought into life by this god. So therefore, this god is the protector of animals. So even it can bring in some type of animals in our life as well. But this asteroid represents intuition, psychic abilities, higher consciousness, some type of environmental protection related matters as well. So maybe these type of topics are gonna be popping up for us. I mean, Cancer was dogs as well, so maybe something like that. But I think the message here is with this moon and Quaoar, that you're gonna have to listen to your divine messages this time around because you are going to be getting them. And sometimes they can be extremely scary as well at the same time. Now, there are other asteroids also involved here. So one of them is actually the Moiras, and the other one is Merlin, which I thought it might be interesting to kind of talk about. So these are also in conjunction to the moon pretty tightly, by the way. Now, if someone wants to look up Merlin, its astrological number is 2598. It was discovered in 1931, so it's pretty much of an kind of like an old asteroids overall. Orbital period is about 4.7 years, and it got named after Merlin the wizard, basically. So it already tells you what the themes of Merlin asteroid is. Magic. So it's the magic of creation. It's the manifestation. But because it's in the sign of Capricorn, it's about our practicality. So the emotions needs to be a little bit, tamed basically. It's wizard, right? So we need a magician who makes it happen for us. It's the asteroid of alchemies as well. But also, interestingly enough, Merlin talks to you about pets as well, just like the previous asteroid Quaoar. So for me, what it pretty much talks to you about is that you're gonna have a kind of like a spirit guide coming to you, maybe in your dreams, Cancer, or maybe somewhere in the outer world, and you are going to get guided You're just gonna have to listen. Also, Merlin, because it represents magic, alchemy, therefore it's creativity as well at the same time. It's kind of like putting a spell on someone, for example. So, let's suppose, so this basically for me, um, Merlin and Quaoar is telling me that this time around, you know what, you can use some type of magic if you want to achieve something. And I usually don't do that, but this time around I will. If I want to manifest something, I'm gonna get out my candles and I'm gonna read up a little bit of a poem or whatever it is. But I am going to be doing that. Um, so that was Merlin. And the other asteroid which we have got involved here is the Moiras. Now, Moira, if you want to be looking that up, its astrological number is 638. And basically, we are talking about fate here. So that's going to be the asteroid of fate. So it either talks, I mean, it talks about the fated journeys we are on. It is talking about whatever is happening, it is happening out of fate. Basically, that is what it kind of indicates to us. The fate, it also means that um, um, the fate is not always in our hand, but we can guide it though. So these are the most important points of this lunation. Another very interesting fact, by the way, that the Sun will also have a conjunction with a fixed star called Sirius just one day after um, the full moon, which is very much about a portal, an energy portal. And because the full moon is pretty much happening on that, I mean, it is talking to us about some magical moments where you can open up the doors to certain type of possibilities. But if you are blinded, you're not gonna see that. And actually, Mercury is bang on Sirius at the moment. So Mercury is the representation of astrology, for example. It's the Mercury represents anything to do with something you can grab, right? So it's out of bounds. So that Mercury is super intuitive at the moment, by the way. So I feel like this full moon is inviting you to raise your energy level, to have strength, but also listen to your intuition as well, or listen to your guiding spirits because they have got something to tell you, and you should not be sitting with closed eyes and ears overall. And cast a chart if you have got a question, cast a spell or just get some type of support from others. And the fact that Jupiter is having a trine to this, which is the planet of luck and gift, this luck has arrived into your life already. You're just gonna have to see it. But Mercury is combusted, so you might not be able to see it, but the full moon comes around and then magnifies that for you again. But Saturn says that everything has got a silver lining. Nothing comes with ease. So there are some type of challenges you're gonna have to overcome. But and probably it's some painful experience, or maybe a debate with your partner or with your family as well. Because they might disagree that you want to change your job, for example, right? So that you can spend more time at home. And they're gonna be like, are you crazy? We don't do that, right? We and so forth. So that can also be in the picture. The full moon chart, by the way, have got a cradle chart. Remember that with aspect pattern, we are only going to be looking at the 10 traditional planets. Okay, so that's kind of important to remember. Now, cradle is very much about manifestation, but also nurturing as well. The cradle, just think about the baby, right? So it's about manifestation, it's about making sure that something is going to be happening in your life. Also, because the Sun and Jupiter sextile gets triggered here, by this full moon, it's getting spotlighted. So it's very possible that you started something around the 19th of June, by the way, because that's when the exact Jupiter and Saturn conjunction happened. So, but remember, Saturn is in the sign of Pisces. So we need to visualize, we need to have a vision board, right? Because Jupiter is magnifying that vision board so you can see, the details on it as well. And Jupiter is in Taurus, which represents money. So I kind of feel like we're just going to have to imagine that money is coming into our pocket so that we can manifest it somehow in reality as well. Now, we do have got, as I mentioned, we've got Mercury and Juno being involved, and often what happens is that Mercury, which is the focal point, Juno is the partner, we focus way too much, for example, on our dreams or on our partner's dream. And then we do not dare getting out there and then fulfilling our own destiny. Or maybe we are focusing a lot on family. I'm not going to change job because I'm going to have to feed the kids and so forth. And you might miss the opportunity of something better, but definitely Juno being there as well, which by the way represents committed partnership, right? So we're gonna have to somehow make adjustments in our partnership, or we're gonna have to get someone involved in this story as well. We don't need to do everything on our own, right? But it can also tell you that it's time to restructure your existing relationship if you have got one. Now, we've got some minor aspects going on as well, and one of them is a sesqui square, for example, to Mars. And I think Mars wants to energize you. It wants to drive you forward so that your goal is actually coming together, basically, right? And Mars is in the sign of Leo, which is about leadership. It's about taking the whip into your own hand, and being bold and courageous as well. So overall, I love this full moon, kind of like the new year is starting type of feeling I'm having with this full moon. Thank you very much and see you soon. Bye bye.